Do I
I
look
mean,
like I'm cold? Because I'm not cold.
what's the temp out there?
38,
We're
30.
at a brisk 18 degrees here, opening day, but we'll get into that. First, welcome back to a Snowboard Magazine podcast. This is Mark My Bird with Mark Clavin and
T-Bird. Tweet, 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 tweet.
how's it going, Bird?
It's going really well, man. Yeah, just finishing up the work week. Gonna go to a Blazers game tonight, which I'm pretty excited about. And then, yeah, man, Christmas party Saturday night. And we're talking like, school parent friends, but it's a kid-free party, Mark. It's a kid-free party. And I'm very excited about that.
That's pretty. You're doing a school party with parents without the children?
Correct. Yeah. It's just, all my daughter's friends, their parents, our little crew. We're having a
So if
little.
you're a babysitter in the area, you could clean up this weekend with a bunch of middle class, upper middle class Portland families that are looking for some childcare.
That are lightly intoxicated and have cash to burn in their pocket.
Yeah, and they all want to get drunk with each other and probably talk about shit about their other kids. So
You know what's funny is, yeah, we're just going to talk about our kids. That's all we're going to talk about. But it's going to be fun, man. How about you? What's new with you?
I guess it is a big weekend here in Cleveland, Ohio. Our local resorts are opening. This is the earliest they've opened in a while. So Alpine Valley opens today. We're recording this on a Friday.
There we go.
Pretty stoked to do that. Yeah, got to get some new glasses today as well. My dog got a hold of these, and you can't really see on the recording, but they have so many scratch marks I can honestly barely read the screen.
You're entering the phase. It's very similar to having a kid, right? Those first few weeks, you're like, man, this shit's easy. They just like sleep and lay around and need to eat once in a while, but it's pretty chill. And then all of a sudden, one day, you're like, oh my God, this thing's fucking crazy.
No, I disagree. I forgot to feed my dog for the past like 4 hours today, and it wasn't like a potential crime. I think having a child is a lot tougher. So don't worry, the dog is fed. But since this is a big episode, I did have to put the dog in a different room. He's being watched, or she's being watched by my partner. So hopefully we don't hear too much barking.
Well, speaking of dogs, Mark, we have ourselves a big dog today.
Wow.
Possibly the biggest dog. I think this is hands down the biggest guest that we have ever had on the program.
Just also, we have also probably used that transition before, just to let you know, the big dog transition, because we talk about our dogs a lot in the beginning of this podcast.
Yeah, you're probably right. But this one, it's the most apt comparison I can make here.
Nice.
This next snowboarder has transcended from our intimate little culture into the mainstream of America through various platforms. First saw this dude ride around 2001 at an event called the World Quarterpipe Championships at Waterville Valley. That's back in New Hampshire. At the end of the day, my friends and I went back to our college dorm room, cracked a few beers, and we could not stop talking about the kid in the red sweatshirt. That's how we knew him back in the day. But very quickly after that, Jackson Hole native Travis Rice burst onto the scene and immediately took the snowboarding world by storm. Whether it was a Vans Triple Crown, X Games, the Grenade movies, Absinthe films, he dominated all of it. And quite frankly, in my opinion, he was the first snowboarder since Jamie Lynn who could look cool doing it all. Travis went on to win everything, including multiple Rider of the Year titles, and quickly went on to become the most well-known snowboarder on the planet. But what would have been a Hall of Fame career was just the beginning. He then went on to make 3 films that would forever change snowboarding cinematography forever, titled That's It, That's All, The Art of Flight, and The Fourth Phase. This rapidly skyrocketed him into the mainstream's eye. This dude was on the Conan O'Brien show, for shit's sake. Oh, and he still wasn't even close to done, as he then went on to make films like Depth Perception and Dark Matter, cinematic masterpieces that pushed the edge of the modern-day formula for snowboard cinematography. But if that wasn't enough, in 2008, he hosted a little event at his home mountain of Jackson Hole called Natural Selection, where the world's best backcountry riders gathered up to battle it out on the steep and deep terrain inbounds on the resort. That eventually evolved into Supernatural and Ultranatural. That was held at the world-famous cat skiing operation Baldface, and then in 2019, it turned into the Natural Selection Tour, an innovative new snowboard league that I've had the pleasure of working with him on for the last 5 years now. Whew, that's the longest intro we've ever done, hands down. So why don't we cut to the chase? Bring this guy in right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Travis Rice. Oh, there he is.
How's it going?
What's up, guys?
What's going on, Trav? What are you doing?
Yeah, sorry, I'm like a minute late. I was doing some homework before the podcast. Like, look at this one. Just
How did you get the intro to me and T-Bird's dance routine? That's not supposed to be on the internet yet.
look. This is just how committed I am to. We're always looking for new stuff for natural selection, and dude, there's some crazy shit happening in the dance world.
Well, it's funny you talk about natural selection and crazy shit happening because recent news, huge news coming out of the natural selection tour with the expansion.
Yep.
And one of the main reasons we wanted to have you on today was to chat a little bit about that. So let's get into it. What does it look like? What was the big news for those that haven't heard? And what are the plans for this upcoming winter?
I mean, yeah. Look, we've obviously been like in the trenches. Trying to build this snowboarding, component like as incredibly as we could. But yeah, the news that just went out was we're expanding. We're bringing in and starting like a full beta ski event this winter, as well as like an epic surf event. And then we've been in mountain biking for like the last 3 years, but we've always been working towards like a bigger, higher level event. We've been kind of under the proving grounds, right? And so we're rolling that into actually like a full national selection level event. So,
And now, I don't know how much you can say regarding surf, but I do know you guys just went on a little bit of a scout to the location of the event, and it went swimmingly, pun intended.
Yeah. Look, I mean, this isn't something we take on lightly. It's been a year and change that we've actually been like legitimately working on it. And there was a lot of time, philosophically and just looking into, is this a needed thing, or are we like asserting ourselves where we don't need to be? And there was a number of factors that led to us moving into surf and making the decision to roll out a surf event. And a big part of it was just
real quick. Are you guys getting a crazy sound coming out of this?
Yeah, I'm hearing that. It's like
There's
Zen Garden River.
Yeah, that one hasn't happened before.
Well, let's
hold
do a
on.
quick check. We can all go.
Yeah, sorry about that. Oh, it was coming from you, Travis.
Well, it looks like that solved it.
Oh, perfect. All right, there we go. Done. And you're also a tech whiz. All right, we're good to go.
Let's So give us a little insight about the surf event in particular. I know you just got back from a location scout and things went super duper well.
Yeah, I mean, the comical takeaway. So we're doing this event in like the true wilderness, in deep Micronesia, Western Pacific, north of the equator. And it's kind of similar to, I think, like what we've done with like, say, Alaska event, where it's like, where is an area that has like the greatest potential for like performance and those rare opportunities when all of the elements come together. Like for us in Alaska, just the conditions, the terrain, and then the riders showing that, and there being the potential for something truly great to happen, and kind of taking the same approach to surfing. I guess we're maybe a little bit like masochists at heart, just in the sense that it is not the path of least resistance, but I think it's the path to the greatest potential.
I guess my biggest question is why? Why are you guys expanding into surf, ski, bike as well?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, why circles really back to the original, like, initial story of, like, this thing is snowboarding. We did natural selection 2008, we did supernatural, for 2 years, with the help of Red Bull, with Baldface, which then was the kind of, you know, impetus to expanding like a tour and working towards a triple crown style, uncompromised, best in class type of event. And running the last 4 years, and I would say like 4 successful years in snowboarding, along that path, I think that we recognized a number of things. What we created, and I would say co-created within snowboarding, because it was, you know, industry leaders, it was a lot of the top riders, all helped co-create what the natural selection, I think, manifested as.
Yep.
And, our focus has not left that. Like, we are still hyper focused and still have a long way to go and a lot to build within snowboarding, right? Um, but I think along the way, there's certain realities. Just, you know, running and building a sustainable business. Because if these things aren't, self perpetuating, then there's an eventual expiry date.
Yeah.
And I think, building something that can be healthy and operate in a way that is, original mission statement, essentially summed it up as like, we want to be a benevolent entity. Like, everything that we touch and touches us, there is a positive, uh, there's a positive spin-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sure, yeah, a year-round business with year-round events is also that's what we're trying to do in Cleveland with the Browns dome. They want to put a big dome over it so we can have concerts in the winter. So, I get it. You guys want to have some events in the summer. It makes sense.
Well, and just look, I think that there's this incredible, mutual admiration society that does exist. And it's not to say like, oh yeah, you know, every snowboarder is going to be super into like exactly the nuances what's happening in biking, or every biker's going to, follow skiing. It's not underneath that. And on top of that, each one of these like cultures is incredibly nuanced. Like, yeah, it is action sports. Like, yes, this kind of Mother Nature character, you know, these events and great things happen when a number of variables that are kind of rare come together. Like, there's a lot of similarities. However, each one of these cultures is also like very much its own inclusive, existence. However, we really felt that at the end of the day, I think that we can build something fundamentally supportive of what the next chapter of a lot of these, cultures look like, um, and give, an outsized, microphone to the ones that are actually in the trenches doing it and doing the work and want to see evolution in the right path. And frankly, it's interesting how things have evolved in the last 20 years, from, brands and independent events like really taking the lead on helping, usher in what the next chapters of, the sport and culture is. And that's just changed fundamentally. Not that there's not still a bunch of, great brands that are doing things on, grassroots levels and various levels. However, it's changed. Like, the amount of independent events that are operating is greatly reduced. A lot of, original founders of said companies are no longer there. And that just changes things. And, we wanted to leave snowboarding better than it was when we found it. And it was in a really great and healthy place, when I got into it. And, people like Liam Griffin and, I mean, hell, yourself, T-Bird, right? Being with us all these years. So all that being said, I think wait, let me get my IT guy. Okay, fix that. All that being said, I think that we see a path towards health and sustainability and growth through a bit of, sharing, I think, the original, fundamental ethics around natural selection into surf. Because there's great people that want to do amazing things in each one of these places. And really, we're just looking at it as like, can we be helpful? Can we offer support? Can we offer a little bit of structure to, putting on some of these best in class events?
Yeah, 100%. And I want to go back to the original natural selection, right? Was it while you were filming The Art of Flight or the fourth phase, or was this before?
I think it was alongside That's It, That's All.
Okay, so alongside That's It, That's All,
Yeah.
where did this idea come about? Because you were so heavily focused on filming, you were literally revolutionizing snowboard cinematography, and then to pile on putting on an event of that magnitude, when did that enter your mind, and when did you start thinking about it?
I mean, I think it was a couple years like leading up to that event. And I think it was, if I remember correctly, like, chatting with Gooch and some long car rides like to the zones. And I'd been on the contest grind, you know, loving it, trying to balance like putting together a legit part and doing a lot of contests. And I think there was an element of like, what if, we were able to put on this kind of like gathering or event where you had conditions legit enough that you had like the real top contest guys could, kind of blend that narrative. And then it really became a reality when like I signed on with Quicksilver, and part of our negotiation with like Bob McKnight, at the time he was fundamental in that, was like, hey, I really want to do this event, and Quicksilver came on and titled that event. And at the time Jackson Hole was willing to help, and they helped a lot. And at that time, whatever, it's a long story, but basically they allowed us and supported us in doing that contest, which was an epic.
Well, and I remember, because I've heard you say it so many times, manifesting prime conditions, right? I wasn't there in person. I think Bridges went from the magazine, but from what I was told and what I saw, in footage and in photos, it was like the sickest conditions of all time.
It was one of the best like storm cycles I've seen at Jackson, where, you know, like Jackson has a lot of rocky terrain. It's in the Rockies, and it's big cliffs, and there's a lot of stuff that you normally just like, yeah, you could hit it, but it's flat. And that particular storm, it was like most of the cliff bands on the resort, you could just not even look before you went. It snowed like 6 feet, and there was already a great base, and it was just like sitting everything.
Wow. You found a lot of luck, because even that year 2, I believe, at Jackson, when everyone was in the ditch nonstop, like that was one of the greatest couple days of snow I've ever experienced. That was insane.
Yeah. Dick's Ditch was firing. And actually, there was supposed to be a second event venue on Jackson in the ditch. We had like the fully realized ditch plan. I still got it, I think, in the wall of my house, like the ditch part 2, because we did the ditch in 2008, and then we had a plan to like take the ditch to 11.
How much research goes into that week that you guys pick for that window for each event? Or is it truly you guys are getting just Mother Nature is blessing you with these events and this snow? Or is it like you're really studying for years leading up to that spot, thinking you're going to know when an actual storm is going to hit?
I mean, I'm going to make up some shit about, getting an insider. We pay for, the real Farmer's Almanac.
Oh, yeah.
Gold level information on what week each storm is that they're going to seed. No. So every venue, I think a lot of our venue stuff, it revolves around every venue has its window. As in, the aspect and elevation, right? Like what time of year is that going to be on? And that really dictates when we do these events.
Yeah.
And so I think we do a lot of homework within that regards. And then the other thing we do is we do a lot of physical manual labor to make sure that the venue's safe. Like that's kind of one of the biggest things is, making sure that there's like not hazards, like, a stump or like some sharp rock that's like right beneath the surface. Cause you're asking people to compete, right? You're asking them to kind of put it on the line, and we would take it personally if someone like butt checked a rock in like a landing zone. It's like a true area someone's landing in. And so that's the other side of it is we do a lot of work in the summer and in the months leading up to the event of making sure that we need as little as possible to run the event, so that if we get 6 inches and that's all we got, we can run it. Which second year at Jackson, that basically happened. And had we not spent so much time prepping, like there would have been an unrunnable week. But because we put the time in, we could still run it in sub-prime conditions.
And on that topic, speaking of Rebel Stoke, the big news this year for the snow event, 24 invited athletes. We're doing duels again, but the Rebel Stoke course has been built upon, correct? And it's going to be 2 days live?
Yeah, that's kind of the big evolution, I think, is the 2 full days of live event at Rebel Stoke. And, Craven and his team up in Rebel Stoke, and, shout out to Rebel Stoke Mountain Resort. It was a big summer of venue build out and fine tuning. And I think we got like a taste of what the potential is within that kind of selector venue where we did the qualifying day last year, the live day that we did last year. And that was like one of the worst years in a long time. And it was still pretty good. But I think that how things are setting up and now the venue that we have there, it's going to be heavy. I think it's going to be an epic event.
And when are you guys going to cloud seed that one? We're looking for sound bites here. So you're pro cloud seeding, correct?
Yeah. No, we're going to be, what is it? Silver phosphate or something? Well, we're dropping aluminum out of the skies across the central Canadian region, roughly first week of March.
Perfect.
So don't need the snow that second week. But the 6th and 13th, I wouldn't recommend eating the snow.
Who is the most competitive rider you've ever seen in the natural selection? You can include yourself.
I'd put me up there.
Yep.
I mean, it's fun to have an excuse to talk a little shit. I don't know. Olston, he's been pretty competitive. He's been taking it, a real eye of the tiger. I think, McMorris, he's a serious competitor. I don't think that. He is such a veteran in competition riding. Like, I don't think he's taking it that. I think he's rolling into that. Like, he takes it serious, but he's not going overboard.
Yeah.
Who's a bit of a sneaky one is Zoe. Like, Zoe's the most likable, smiley, like kind-hearted person. But as soon as she puts the bib on, you see like Voltron forms, and she just like locks the fuck in. It's pretty crazy. It's sick.
Yeah. Well, it shows. Yeah, it shows in her riding.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think everyone is taking it pretty serious, frankly. I don't know, maybe not Blake.
Blake's pretty chill. He's pretty chill all the time.
No, but I know that even for him too, it's like, I mean, you got a bib on, right? And
What about as a co-founder? I mean, there's a lot of contests that are kind of popping up this year. We got Snow League coming up. X Games is dropping another league. I know they're all different realms. And then on the surf side, you have WSL. You guys are stepping into that arena. What is it? Rampage in the bike arena. You guys got a lot of contests to also hold your own with. So is there any competition amongst the founders?
You know, it's interesting. I don't know if we really have that much like direct competition, so to speak, because okay, let's say like snowboarding for example, right? You have this, you have like the Freeride World Tour, right? Which now that it's owned by FIS, it's you have this kind of like governing body sort of thing that's manifesting where it's working towards like 2030 France free ride, first free ride Olympics event. And I think inevitably it already kind of is that, right? And there's like, the youth events that qualify up to, the top am events. And then there's kind of this pro am bridge that then goes into free ride world tour, their championship tour. And I'm grateful that exists. And those guys have worked really hard over the last, 15, 18 years to build that into what it is. And I think that it's a necessary thing. Like I'm glad it's there because I don't, I don't think that it would be considered into the Olympics. Like it had to have been pushed. I think FIS needed control of that pathway for sales and for continuing to try to bring events to the Olympics that are going to bring eyeballs and garner attention, then therefore will be able to sell sponsorship for their TV rights. It's a TV play. Like the Olympics is sure it's legacy, but it's also why do you think like all of action sports is being brought into the Olympics? It's because they're chasing viewership.
Well, as it stands right now, all signs are pointing toward eventually, I don't quite know when, free riding or big mountain riding becoming an Olympic sport. Would you agree with that?
Then I think it was this summer it got voted in, and
Right.
it's on its path, and it's probably France 2030.
I mean, there's always rumors also that, other contest formats are trying to also get in there as qualifiers. So can we break news here? Or is natural selection ever going to try to get into that qualification process?
I don't know, man. I mean, look, you talking with someone who went, and Liam Griffin as well. Like we were around on the other side of, the 20-year battle of like core snowboarding, through the multiple Olympic cycles and seeing the coordinated effort that was taken to really fundamentally erode, independent organizations, events, and it was brutal. Like it was not collaborative. It was absolutely horrible, in my opinion. Yeah. Now times change. Hopefully, people learn from mistakes made. We'll see how this free riding, event goes into the Olympics. I mean, I think that it could be done in a good way, but history is like the real like truth sayer when you look back. And so what happens? I think that we would stay open to help, to even collaborate on like, hey, if you guys need a top tier event, or what are you doing for the venue design, stuff like that. Maybe I don't think they're going to come ask us, frankly. And I think that generally speaking, I think it's a bull flag for the space that is free riding. And we hope that, if they're going to do it, they do a good job with it.
Sure.
But I don't know if, entering into the realm of like qualification for the Olympics it's not really what we're focused on. I think it's.
What about you? Yeah. What about you on a personal note? I mean, like slope style was not obviously in the Olympics until recently and stuff. And you were in the pipe, but then you were focusing on free riding and slope style a lot as that kind of all was shaking out.
Yeah.
Now with free riding potentially, what about on a personal level? Would you go for the qualification and try to represent the U.S. in the Olympics?
I don't know, man. That's a tough one. Never
Yeah,
say
for
never,
sure.
but with the current tour structure and event locations, and I wouldn't want to go just beat it out on some like sub prime condition venues where it doesn't support the type of riding that I want to do.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, you brought up the Olympics. We were talking about natural selection, so then we're getting into you talked about legacy. I was just wondering.
Well, I think we were going with that, right? Is like, okay, what other like competitive events, are
Right. Yeah.
so, you've got this kind of thing that's coalescing around, for a World Tour on one side, and then like Snow League, right? What Shaun's building on the other side, which, same deal. I hope Snow League is great. I hope it's successful. I think that bringing more resources into the space is fantastic, and I think a lot of riders that end up coming onto the tour are doing so after these like successful and amazing careers within the competitive landscape, or coming as an Olympic medalist. And so if Snow League is going to put in more resources and help build the legacy that is events, then I think it only helps the space as a whole, and honestly, it helps natural selection because it's giving more notoriety to said individuals. So if resources into the space, I'm all for it. And if Snow League's going to do that, like sweet. And I would say like Snow League and X Games, like those guys, they're competitors. Like I'm interested to see how that flushes out, but we're not competitive. We're not competitors to either, I don't think.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you bring up Shaun because, as an industry member, when telling people what you do, I work in the snowboard industry. Literally, I get one of two questions. Do you know Shaun White? Do you know Travis Rice? It's either one of those. Like, you two are the most recognizable snowboarders who have ever lived. Do you and Shaun have a relationship? Have you guys spent time together? You ever filmed together or done anything collaboratively?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're on good terms. For whatever reason, we haven't. I think he's basically been invited to most every natural selection, either directly or indirectly, as sometimes we can't get a hold of him, or he just will not text back or call back. However, we've tried to extend the olive branch at all opportunities. I think it would be really exciting to see Shaun come and do it. And if he spent a little bit of time, I mean, he could dominate. I mean, the guy has got serious skill.
That's what I tell people. Everyone's like, "Oh, he'd get smoked," and I'm like, I don't know if you know Shaun as well as you think you do. Like, if that dude put the time in and puts his mind to something, like he's gonna find success.
Yeah.
I could re-ask the question then: who would be the most competitive if both of you guys were in the same thing? Who do you think is more competitive, just in general, you or Shaun?
I mean, probably Shaun. I think. I mean, I'm competitive. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not afraid of losing. I'm not afraid of like looking like a fool. I'm okay going to a contest and not feeling like, I'm only going because I know I can win.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, whatever. I don't really know Shaun that well.
Right.
But I don't know if he'd be willing to come to the event if he didn't think like he had it wrapped up.
What are the big names you guys are looking at in the surf and bike and ski world?
Well, so I'm really excited. I think you need to follow us on social, as we are days away from starting the rollout of invites. But look, surf event, um, we have some epic individuals that have just recently kind of confirmed on as everything has kind of come into alignment with the event. And then, you know, within ski too, um, I mean, the ski lineup is gnarly. And, you know, both of these events, it's our first year. It's our first year. Like, you know, we're doing real events that have like potential to be something epic. Um, you know, but it's the first year, and there's a lot to learn. We've been building these teams within, you know, each one of these verticals, you can call them that. That is authentically that, because, you know, this thing doesn't work unless it is, you know, for us in snowboarding is buy snowboarders for snowboarders. And you know, this isn't us coming in and just being like, okay, copy paste. That was easy. Um, you know, there's such nuance into, you know, the format component or considerations of how certain things are, you know, communicated. And it's early days. Like we're entering into this, you know, for the long term. You know, this isn't just kind of flash in the pan. All right, let's do an event. You know, there's been years of discussion on how and why, and yeah, mostly circling it back to, you know, what our original mission statement is, um, within snowboarding, and does, you know, doing these other events, does it support our commitment to snowboarding? And in a weird tangential way, like, it is a part of how we make snowboarding better.
And I will say, you know, internally being in on those meetings, dude, the ski side was so fucking hungry for it. It's like they were waiting for the phone to ring. Like ski is ready for it. Has been ready for it for a long time, and you can tell that on the calls. Like they are just so hyped to be part of this thing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's been a long time. Like I've been, you know, like Sandy Carlson and I've been chatting for 3 years, like in depth. Um, you know, with Ben Shedler, you know, number of conversations, and then, you know, Candide and Marcus Cedar, Michelle Parker. Um, you know, there's been a lot of convos, and it's like, hey, if we're gonna do this, a how does this function and not take away from what we're doing with snowboarding? How does it complement? And, you know, the second piece of it, it's really just like, how can we support, you know, like you guys making this thing yours? Because that's the real opportunity with it. And that's kind of at this weird, you know, fork in the road. And why now is, I mean, we thought someone was going to step up and do it in skiing, you know, all these years. It's been 5 years basically. And I think Eater has a pretty sweet event that he's going to do this year. It's his own, but yeah, that's where it is.
So kind of just like rising tide raises all ships with this, as like, you know, as you guys bring in other action sports, it's only going to circle back and help out the snowboarding portion of the brand as well to kind of even branch out even larger is kind of the overall thought.
Yeah, you know, and it's a bit different, right? Like, you know, X Games was kind of this like, all right, we're gonna do the super multi-sport, like everyone's here, like you do this, you know. Our approach is definitely much more like, you know, like we're not bringing the skiers just to like eat tracks on the Revelstoke venue. Like it's its own unique venue, it's unique endeavor. You know, who knows? Maybe there's someday in the future where there's, you know, a little bit of overlap. Um, and by no means is our intention to like segregate these things. Um, I think a lot of it comes back to like, you know, you only have so much real estate, and your asset being, you know, the fresh snow and these, you know, pure venues. And it going back to, we want to set it up so that the rider who rides the best, most consistently and continuously after multiple rounds and multiple runs, you know, we don't want a situation where it's like, have a crazy run and won the event. And if you like, we're already max capacity of like this event up in Revelstoke, 24 riders, 2 full days of riding, and there's no extra room to like bring in another discipline. It's its own. It's focused. It is what, and I think that's how it should be.
Yeah, each discipline is going to get the best venue to showcase them in their natural habitat in the best way possible. I think you could get away with giving the snowboard prize could be just going to the surf event to watch that. I think most guys would compete pretty hard, guys and girls, just to go see some world-class surfing on a warm beach.
Yep. I think, well, and then there's that component too, which like there's crossover interest. And I think, in the coming years, I look forward to being able to do a little bit of that, because there's some surfers who really want to come and might even roll out to this event up in Revelstoke, and mountain biking, and it's stuff that for the most part we're all kind of doing anyways.
This probably will also roll out in like 2 weeks, realistically. So if there is a few names that are early on the launch, if you did want to say any of the bigger names that you guys are stoked on, feel free, because this is going to be a little bit.
Man, I would have to look at the rollout schedule of when those are coming out against when. Not that I don't want to give you guys.
Oh, no pressure at all. I was just saying, I was like, oh yeah, this is, because if the launch was starting in like a few days, I was like, oh, technically we could have a few, but yeah, no stress at all. Go for it, Bird.
I actually do have a little insight on that, and I can give a hint as to duels on the snowboard side. It's going to be, there's a lot of names of true rookies, NST rookies. Like, a lot of people are going to get a chance to ride on the tour this year that have never ridden on an NST course, which I think is really cool.
Oh, that's actually a big portion. It's like, what is new and exciting about this year NST that's going to be, you guys are stoked on the improvement upon from last year and everything. Any changes coming?
Look, I think the duels are going to be like quite a step up. I just know that like some of the pre-production and like who is lining up for competing on those duels, and I think like Tom was just saying, like there's some amazing young talent coming, and then there's also some like amazing talent that is still hyper determined on like the other side, on like the true veteran side, that's going to be coming in this year, that I'm also like pretty frothed out to see how that plays.
Ooh, are we? Oh, you want to go?
No, you go for it, buddy. It's all you.
I was just going to say, are we going to get a live finals this year?
Yes. That's the other biggest thing, is we're going double live event, qualies, finals. How it should be. It was a means of how do we get the best riding, 2 incredible venues last year, but it just wasn't technically possible.
Oh yeah. What you guys have done is already extremely impressive. Just as the snowboard fan, it's like the live days are the highlight of the winter for snowboard competition for NST. I mean, it's truly like, it's better than any other live event. And I was at home the entire winter this year, live streaming every single one from my couch. And I have to say, NST was the top one. It was a blast. Like, it's just, that's what we want to see, is more live stuff. So thank you very much for delivering a live finals this year.
Well, it's our pleasure, believe it. And every year is, a learning experience. Every year is like dynamic in its own way. And I think this year, I mean, look, we make these things better every year. And I think this year, like, I'm excited for people to tune in and do the live thing. I think that we've solved a number of elements. If any of the criticism that I think we heard from our live day last year, it's going to be fast. It's going to be entertaining. I think the riding's going to be great. And
yeah, as long as they're not an hour blackout, you guys are golden. It's a huge improvement. So you guys are golden.
Yeah. As long as there's not a giant solar flare, or like the guy in Texas who miscalculated when solar like apogee comes in to the sat link who forgot to carry the one on a time zone. Yeah, which is why that went down last year.
That's insane.
Literally, you know, they have to pre-plan like the route, and the sun is so much interference that the sun basically came into alignment with the feed in the satellite, which then disrupts it. And the guy who was not our guy, who was in charge of that, like forgot to change time zones and was an hour off on when the sun came into. So that's why we lost our feed last year.
You're gonna talk to Elon this year? You're gonna kind of hit him up and be like, "Come on, we got a lot of stuff riding on this.
We've been talking with Starlink for the last couple of years, and we keep testing the units, and they're great for streaming shows, but they're not built for upload, and they have like basically it's not even a latency thing. It's there's like these micro cutouts where you will lose feed, which doesn't really work for live broadcasting.
Maybe a Rivian satellite could fix that.
Possibly. No, you've seen the new Chinese. It's basically a complete like exact ripoff of Starlink that the Chinese is now firing up into space. So not only are you going to have your like 14,000, you know, network of Starlinks, now you're going to have another Chinese network with 14,000 satellites up there.
With all the technology they have up there and how Starlink does that, the only time I ever saw Starlink line up, I was in Mammoth and it was like pitch black. We just looked up and we saw it line up one day, and this was a couple years ago. It freaked us out. He seems like a funny guy. I don't know why he doesn't like make all them form into like a middle finger or something hilarious in space just to kind of show down on us all day long.
Yeah, he's done some pretty good, witty humor.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Level, but
Trev, I want to know if you could go, like, let's take Alaska, prime conditions, prime zone, the best zone that you can possibly think of. There was any snowboarder, retired or current, that you could go 3 runs head to head with. Who would you want to go against to like really test yourself? Who would it be?
I don't know. I mean, aside from, pretty much the entire like invite list of NST, but I don't know. I mean, like DCP in his prime, not to say he's not, but when he was riding like fluently, I mean, he was one of the OG, backcountry freestylers.
For sure.
Bjorn Lyons. I mean, Terry is insane to see free ride up in Alaska. Like Nico Mueller, dude, I would love to. Like that guy's a wizard. I mean, Ben Ferguson, Chris Rasman, like both those guys. Complete wild card. Yeah, really going for it. Could do nuts.
Before you said those two, you were picking older guys, and I was like, oh, he's just going with an age thing so he can still win. But okay, now you're going younger. All right.
Well, to clarify, I kind of meant like in the prime, right? Like prime of their career, riding the best they've ever ridden, dream matchup.
I mean, I don't know. It's a long list, man. I mean, John Jay will forever have a like rogue wild card of he might just go 200 feet and hit like a tiny tranny, and then there's nothing you can do against it. I mean, Victor De La Rue's pretty nuts.
Have you seen his new films, by the way?
I've seen highlights from it. It's been on since it's came out, it's been on my like list to watch, and I just haven't had much time, but I'm looking forward to it. I've heard a lot of great things about it.
The only text updates I've gotten about it is terrifying. Oh, dog.
Terrifying.
I
mean, Elias Elhart, I think. I mean, I don't know. You just keep going. Like the thing is it's like it's a potentials thing. Like there's so many riders who, if given a like, hey, this is your like film run, like you get a few swings at it, go crazy, Hail Mary round. It. I think a lot of times it comes down to people playing it safe. I think that's like where you get a lot of, sub potential.
I think about when a lot of people talk about your riding, and I've heard it a lot. They're like, "Oh, he's fearless. He doesn't feel fear." Do you feel fear? Like, I'm asking honestly. Like, when was the last time you were like, "Holy shit, this is pretty fucking sketchy. What I'm doing here."
Um, Probably in the Mentawais when it was like triple, quadruple overhead in some like shallow reef situations. I was legitimately scared. Um, Absolutely. Yeah, fear, of course. Like I feel the fear. I'm a little numb to certain repetitive components of it. Like I'm still very excitable, and you get up to Alaska, just like the expanse and space, and or hitting a consequential jump, or there's still things that for sure there's fearful components because no one wants to break themselves. Um, but I guess over years of like the repetitive process of reducing fears into the like rational fear and unrational fear, and kind of moving the unrational out, listening to the rational, and then working through the like physics of, all right, we can mitigate the risk on this thing if you go the right speed, the in run's good enough. Or for Alaska, like if you study up and you know the line you're taking, and you can mitigate a lot of that stuff, but it takes homework, and it takes time on board.
So you're really only afraid of water if it is above 32 degrees. I'm full of clipped out. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean there's plenty of things I'm fearful about. But when can you use that as like a tool and not be like paralyzed, or impended upon, and it being a limiting factor?
Yeah, and I think there's certain types of people. I think the majority of people feel that paralysis with fear, and that's totally normal, right? It happens to most people. I do think, and I don't know if it's genetic, I don't know if it's learned, I don't know if it's innate, but I do think there's a certain percentage of the population that instead, when they feel fear, it just enhances focus, if that sounds weird. But I do think there's something to that. And no, it's those people that everyone says, oh, they're fearless. It's like, no, they're just hyper focused, and the irrational fear and the rational fear, they can balance those two and discern between the two of them.
I mean, consequence goes hand in hand with like great success, or greatness, or like rising to the occasion, potential, whether it's in like business with the startup, like, if you're taking the like no risk, easy, path, like there's a reason why, a lot of like founders stories, like people threw off the supports of like comfort, and yeah, I mean, it's risk you take without great risk, is there great reward? And it goes the same within, riding.
If you take no risks, you end up with a house in Cleveland, Ohio, baby.
But even then, right, like I'm not saying that, it's not fulfilling to be wise and smart around risk management and how you live your life, because a lot of times taking, a stupid risk and losing, it sucks. Like it's a bummer. It's a, take it how you will, right? And certain people are built with a level of masochism where they're willing to fail and feel hardships and things not working out and learn from that and use that as like further motivation. Yeah, and some people you know aren't wired that way and get stung, and it's like, hey, I don't like that feeling. This doesn't make me happy. This doesn't feel right for who I am. And both those paths are fine. I mean, I have a lot of respect for people who take that wise path and have priorities in their life where it's like, I don't want my job to follow me home after 5 p.m. I love the fact that I can go and I can work and do my thing, and then I can go focus on my family, or I can go do the things I love, and I don't have to bring the baggage of like, founder work home, or it's all pros and cons. Like, there's great things with taking a safe, smart, wise path. It just is like, what do you want? What do you want at the end of the day?
When did do you have a moment of realization when you realized that you were the other way? Like, was it when you were younger? Was it after you started snowboarding?
I don't know. I think I've kind of always just been a little wired that way, from weird little like hustles early on to, if I had a reason. I had to work construction for 3 summers, and it was like I showed up every day because I was trying to earn money because I needed to buy a car and I wanted to pay my expenses for the winter to go ride, and that was my motivation. So I was like, all right, I'm showing up and I'm going to try to do this little work on the side too, because that was like the purpose.
Do you think you have a healthy work-life balance?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I mean, I guess, yeah, you did propose at the top of a mountain. I mean, most people, pick a nice restaurant, but you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to bring you out to where I would spend all my time anyways. That sounds nice.
Yeah.
If you had to pick a restaurant to propose to instead of the top of a mountain, which restaurant would you pick?
Which restaurant would I pick?
This is a terrible question. I'm sorry.
I would pick. I got this. I don't know. I would pick like a non-boutique-y, like real nice little coastal, I don't know, maybe in Basque Country or something. It's just a nice little seaside restaurant.
Very nice.
Open air.
I have a question for you. Where are you at with lifetime flight miles? I think you probably travel more than any snowboarder that I know. We talking million, 2 mil? Where are we at?
I haven't really kept track, although I did just see that I was like, I think I'm like 20,000 short of a million United flown.
It's pretty good. Let's get this dude's name on a plane.
I thought it'd be more. Bird, where are you at?
Bye. I'm at like 810, 810 maybe.
Yeah.
But that's from like the glory days of like, New Zealand locks, South America, a Europe trip, a Japan trip, like every year. Those don't happen anymore. I'm slowly creeping now.
Yeah, I'm sitting on like 700,000. I'm gonna take that free flight to Basque and maybe I'll use your idea there and maybe shore up my relationship.
Do it.
Perfect. Big risk.
Trav, today was day 1 for you on hill, correct? You just got down from Mount Bachelor?
Yeah. Just got up yesterday. I had a real slow start. I think my slowest, although it's not that, it's like mid-December right now. And yeah, slow start, but had a big, the last like 3-4 weeks, it's been a great entry in straight into like actual decent snow here at Bachelor. So
nice.
This one's good. Like, yeah.
Do you take any of your I mean, just time on board in general. Does your surfing ever correlate? Do you ever unlock anything while you're surfing that then you take to the large mountains?
I mean, spinal flexion.
Yeah.
Surfing's kind of like a beautiful. It's like the exact opposite of snowboarding. You know, snowboard all year, and you kind of like get this like inward rotation, kind of like hunched over, right? Which is good, strong, and then surfing, it's like complete opposite. Not to mention, you go from like pasty white through like a few burn phases into like a golden bronze. So it really complements each other. Um, I will say that because within surfing, like the turn in snowboarding is it's wholly, it's beautiful, it's appreciated, but in surfing it's almost like another level because the turn is the thing. It's like turn barrel. Okay, maybe there's errors, but there's turns in surfing that I think a lot of snowboarders chase. A lot of snowboarders chase that type of like, dynamic, critical, like fully laid out power hack. And there's something that happens with, water, um, because it's denser than snow, in soft snow, you are able to carry momentum through a turn better in water. And I think a lot of people chase those types of turns in, soft snow conditions. And because the snowboard is really rather inefficient, there's a lot of drag. And then because as you put your inertia into soft snow and that, that force is being absorbed by the softness of the snow, it's hard to like continue out with the same momentum you put into it. So I would say like, yeah, the turn in surfing, it's something that
Well,
snowboarders, or at least I appreciate.
correct me if I'm wrong, but you're one of those I hate to say freaks, but you snowboard goofy and you do surf regular, do you not?
Yeah, absolutely.
That is so crazy to me. Jed Anderson does it at a very high level, skateboarding and snowboarding. Grenier is one of those. He snowboards regular, surfs or skates goofy. How did that come about?
It's because I skated regular. Um, and from skating to like starting surf, hopping up, it was like so much easier going regular foot. Um, I don't know. I enjoy it. I mean, it's life's short. You're really just gonna relegate yourself to go in one direction.
What about foiling? Goofy or regular?
Regular.
Wow. And that's you got a blade underneath you, so that one you got to make sure you're very stable. Sounds
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah. Been trying to get a little bit better at going both ways. Um, like powder surfing, if it's slow speeds, I'll go regular. If it's fast speeds, I'll go goofy, or should I say pin style.
I got a T-Bird question for you. You're always traveling. You're doing amazing stuff. You're always working. What is one normal thing you do that just makes you a piece of shit like the rest of us? As far as binging Netflix, do you sit down and watch one terrible show for a couple hours or anything like that?
I mean, I don't know. I would lie if I didn't occasionally find myself just unconscious in a doom scroll. Um, I I try to watch shows every now and then, but I don't really. There's always some pressing component that takes precedent.
You doom scrolling on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. What's your go-to social media of choice?
I mean, Instagram's the easiest.
What about food? I know you're very health conscious in what you put in your body. Is there anything? Do you ever sit down and just like destroy a fucking box of extra toasty Cheez-Its or like some just total shit food?
I mean, look at me. Like, yeah, I occasionally go rogue for sure. Um, you know, everything in moderation, including moderation. I think and there's some healthier options. I wouldn't say like I'm hitting Mickey D's or like the freaking spicy Cheetos ever, just because I don't know. There's a certain level, but there's some great high caliber consumables that you can still go rogue on.
Dude, Clavin used to eat these things. Oh my God, they were so fucked. It was Chex Mix Muddy Buddies. So it was like a bag of Chex Mix with just like chocolate, marshmallow, like caramel
As a
drizzle.
kid, we would like holiday time. I remember making Muddy Buddies with my parents.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
like, oh, you get the Chex Mix, and you get the thing, and then the powder, and wrap it up with the peanut butter. Freaking
Yeah,
fun.
but
Big.
now I have IBD, so I mean, I don't know. I think big snacks got me on that one. You got any Christmas big traditions that you do? The holidays are coming up. This should be released right around Christmas time.
I mean, if all goes well, I think Jupiter will be taking his first snowboard runs up at Baldface.
Whoa, that might eclipse all of your accomplishments in snowboarding in one quick afternoon watching him go down.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I actually just built him a board. It was great with POS when I was up at Live Tech like last month. Yeah, POS helped me lay up and fully build like a custom board, reduce down the like. I've got a 20-year board coming out, 20th T-Rise Pro board coming out with Lib next year, and the graphic we did for it is all time. It's G. Anyways, reduce it down to his board size. He's got a sick little custom board.
You know how when you're a kid in like middle school and like elementary school and you're like, oh, my dad could kick the shit out of anyone. He's cooler than anyone. I just imagine some kid saying that to Jupe and Jupe just putting in like the fourth phase. He's like, check this out, motherfucker.
My dad talks to trees. What was your first snowboard?
I wonder. I'm thinking Jupe's probably going to grow up, and there's going to be an element where he's like so unimpressed by anything that because it's like, yeah, whatever, like, you know, and he's been, I had him skiing the last 2 years, and I've been waiting for him to like ask, and he actually just the other day, was asking about snowboarding because I was like, "Where's the skis?" He's like, "Yeah, I want to go skiing."
Well, he's also probably got to, when he goes to the mountain with you, I'm assuming people come up, maybe want a photo, want to talk to you. Like, hey, that's Travis Rice. He probably sees that and kind of like lets that absorb a little bit. So he's probably going to start asking questions soon, like about it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. This is a chapter in parenthood that I don't really know how that's gonna roll by down.
That's actually something else. I mean, you had a movie that was streamed on Netflix for a couple years. I mean, and you're obviously one of the most famous snowboarders of all time. The question, but most of the time you have goggles on. Like, do you get recognized everywhere you go, or is it kind of like you can kind of get around in airports without really being stopped too much?
Fame's weird, and I'm still at this like level where I appreciate, if someone's stopping me, like in an airport, they're probably someone that I'm psyched to say what up to, if that makes sense. And for the most part, it's pretty genuine, because you can really tell when someone comes up that like has some mutual appreciation, or there's like a common like human respect, versus like, hey, let me get a selfie, where it's more of like, I don't want an exchange. I just want to take something from you. And I don't know. I'm grateful that I can't imagine being actually famous. Like, you're always looking over your shoulder. Every person you look at, you're like thinking like, did they recognize me, or is this person going to come up to me? I don't know. It's insane. I think fame is gnarly. I think fame, there's a bit of a curse. It depends on how someone's willing to navigate it. But
Well, I will say, and this is, a total compliment to you. Like, I've spent a bunch of time with you in Jackson, Revelstoke, various locations, just kind of lapping for some NST stuff. And people do come up to you a lot and they do recognize you a lot. And you give them so much more time than most, I think, famous people would. Like, you actually really give you a lot of time to the point where the people who are with you are like, yo, Trav, we got to go. Like, we got to be somewhere. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, look, you can make whatever you want out of it, right? And I've found that, making something, finding the like benefit or the silver lining in it. And I think that's one interesting thing that, we walk around and for the most part, everyone has like a little bit of a guard up, right? To strangers. Like, not everyone, right? But for the most part, it's like you can't roll up and instantly go into like a deep conversation, right? It's like you got to like feel the other person out and talk about some, before you can go somewhere deep. And with fame, if someone comes up, or if I saw someone that I appreciated and went up to, chat, talk to them, like that guard is dropped and you can go instantly into like substantive subject matter. And I think being able to, like, that's one of the things I'm grateful about, is because usually it's a quality, exchange.
One kind of final question I have for you. You've been gracious enough to give us almost an hour, 20 minutes of your time. Recently with the tour expansion, Natural Selection became the main channel, and there are 4 separate social channels if you want to break those down for people that want to know more about the individual disciplines or all 4.
Yeah, I mean, look, we debated on this for a bit, and at the end of the day, it's, we need a main channel to communicate about all of the things happening across Natural Selection, and we need we need a channel dedicated to snowboarding, where it's like we can really get into like the nuances. There's an entire full yearly calendar and schedule of just like touching on all the little things that we have going on, these amazing characters that evolve with it, the people behind it, what we're doing, how we're doing it. Like this year, we've got an epic new kind of like format switch, like getting into the nuances of stuff like that. And so we needed to break it up. So follow us on all,
Yep.
or what you're interested in, or if it's just snowboarding, like follow the snow.
Similar
We get into the weeds.
similar locations this year. You'll be doing Revelstoke in Alaska for the stops.
So with snowboarding, we're going to be doing like Europe, Japan. We'll be in Canada, be in lower 48 for the duels, right? And then we're going to do our like full 2 live days up in Revelstoke.
Okay.
And that's like the current like full snowboard ecosystem.
And then and you were talking about the surf, but where was the surf one again? Just for those that.
Yeah, the surf's like out in Micronesia. So basically, like think north of the equator, west of Hawaii.
Why'd you guys pick, with all the famous waves obviously that are out there? What's the name of the wave, and why'd you guys decide on that one?
Well, we decided on that one because like I think that there's something kind of magical around doing it on a lesser known like high performance wave, because if let's say we went to, I don't know, Chopu is maybe too easy of an example to talk about, but like let's say if we went to like Cloudbreak or something where it is world class, or like G-Land, Garagegon. Right? Like, if we went to one of these more well-known, like exotic, like AAA plus quality waves, I think that it lacks a little bit of the kind of adventurous spirit that is Natural Selection. And so we wanted to focus on a location where we had the potential to have, like, if conditions align, like maybe one of the most nuts surfing contests ever done. Because just like with what we've done with every year of our event, and the reason why we're doing like the ski event up in Alaska and the surf event out in, like, it is going to be incredibly different. There's so many things that are stacked against us. as far as running an event out here. But like if your aspiration is anything short of this has the potential to be like the greatest thing ever, then kind of playing safe.
Yeah.
One final question from me. Take snow out of it. Out of the three disciplines, bike, ski, surf, if you had to compete in one, which one do you think you would place like top 10 in, if any?
What, against professional? I mean, I would place last in every one of those on my best day if it was up against proficient, that like 100%. I mean, I would be like the women's field would completely smoke me, hands down, not even like close.
Which one would you want to compete in? Like, which one do you think you would get the highest score in, even if it's dead last?
Well, I think my ego wants to say surf. But even that, like, I have delusions of grandeur about how good of a surfer I actually am. um, I would I would like to take a shot at surf just because it's predominantly rights where we're going, and I surf natural foot. But I mean, I haven't skied since I was 13, but I feel like I could throw some skis on and
Well, the other thing too with skiing, it's in Alaska. Like you've probably spent more time in Alaska than most snowboarders alive, so you know the terrain.
I mean, I would be a lot more comfortable. Um, who knows? Maybe I should say skiing because I remember being really comfortable landing in POW when I was a kid.
Yep.
And the whole scale of taking it all in up there, I would be pretty comfortable with.
Oh,
Speed, line, approach. I don't know. Yeah.
yeah. If you notice, neither of us asked about mountain biking, mostly because at least all I know about snowboarders and mountain biking is it's a one-way ticket to a broken collarbone in the off season. That's about what happens to every single snowboarder. That's like, yeah, I got into mountain biking this year. Then around fall, they're like, no, I'm not snowboarding this year for about 2 months.
I mean, yeah, with mountain biking, I just would be big airs with like low tolerance transitions. I mean, mountain biking they're all gnarly in their own regards. But all the other ones, like you can fall and you can be okay. A big fall on a mountain bike.
Well, Trav, we're going on hour 20 minutes, and I know you're busy. We really want to thank you for your time and giving us this time because you got a lot going on. And just as a snowboarder, like, thank you for all you've done. Everyone appreciates it. And you're the GOAT, in my opinion. I said it. You are.
Well, I really appreciate you guys' time. I love this podcast. And yeah, it's been an honor. Clavin, I really look forward to the next time we get you up to Alaska.
So does my health insurance bill.
Yeah. That was definitely an absolute highlight.
That was a good time.
Tom, I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah, Tom, looking forward to you being an integral part of this year's event as well. And yeah, you guys rule. Keep it up. I appreciate the opportunity to have a chat. And I mean, it's still the beginning. It's just getting better.
Awesome, man. Well, all the best to the lady and the kiddos. Enjoy your holiday, and we hope to have you on again in the near future, man. Maybe after the tour is over at the end of the winter, we can do a little debrief recap on storylines.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's check.
Unless you want to take one last second to apologize to all of your Instagram followers for when you upload, your warm-up GoPro run, and they just know that they're never 99.99% of snowboarders are never going to even get to touch your warm-up run. you can take that. We got like 300 followers. They might all appreciate that.
All right. Well, I apologize first and foremost for nothing. Putting that out
Oh, it's getting dicey.
is a joy. And I apologize. It looks like my internet might be crashing out on you guys, but
Oh, yeah. Wait, if you want to try it one more time real quick, because I think that would be pretty funny.
no, I was just gonna say, yeah, I apologize to absolutely no one for
Yeah, it's all good.
throwing out.
No worries.
Going on.
Internet problems. It happens.
Looks like I'm losing it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, though, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Trav.
Rock and roll, guys. Really appreciate it.
Later.
Keep it.
Later.
Thanks.
Oh, damn. Travis Rice, dude. We had him on the podcast. I feel like when we started this thing, I didn't imagine Travis Rice wanting to come on our podcast. So big win for us today. That was huge.
I'm inspired to maybe try to get some surfers, some mountain bikers, and some skiers on the podcast now. Maybe start a few new channels. Kind of kept that going.
But all in all, I mean, I really like talking to that dude. He's you can tell he's highly intelligent, but he's got a really good way of not making you feel dumb. You know what I mean?
I still feel pretty dumb around him, but yeah, no, he's a very nice guy. We did not get to cover the fact that I showed up to the first natural selection with him completely in his pro model kit from tip to toe and looked like the super fanboy that I guess I am.
Pretty sure that's one of those things, though, that takes up a lot of headspace in your own mind that he doesn't even remember.
Oh, yeah, he stared right through me. I don't even think he clocked that I was in the same outfit.
No, exciting things going with the Natural Selection Tour. I'm excited to see how it all unfolds with the expansion. And, dude, I'm excited to watch 2 days live in Revelstoke. It's going to be fucking epic this year.
I mean, that's what the people want, so that's gonna be really nice. The final live day is gonna be definitely a highlight of my winter as well.
Well, Mark, it's been fun, man. Enjoy. What is it? Almost 4:00 there in Cleveland.
Yes, it is. It's time to go pick up some glasses.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, I will talk to you, I'm sure, later today on FaceTime. Who am I fucking kidding?
Every single day, we take our work home with us.
All right.
All right.
Later, buddy.
Later, man.